Mayo Clinic can save me. If I get there, I'm saved. The main MD that's running all my tests, before they all came back, sits me down and draws on a piece of paper and says, son, I can fix all this for you right now. And I'm just ecstatic. I'm like, let's go. I knew I made it to the right spot. Help me get better. And he draws a picture of my brain and continues to tell me that it's all in my head. I gave this man $30,000. I blacked out multiple times in his hospital and being pushed in a wheelchair, and it's all in my head. If you could have pressed a discontinue button in your life at that point, I probably would have. I want to be part of this movement to help. All I want to do is protect people. I don't want any phone calls of hearing people taking their own lives anymore because they're going to doctors and they're being misdiagnosed and they don't have any hope. I've literally deemed our organization hope dealers because that's what we're literally trying to just give hope.
Welcome to the React 19 podcast, where we bring awareness and support to the COVID-19 vaccine injured and discuss the science, research, and laws that affect all of us. Thanks for joining us again today. I'm Ann Forty with the React 19 podcast, and my guest today is Tim Husereau, who is the founder and CEO of Fish Out of Water, whose mission it is to save lives that have been impacted by long COVID and COVID vaccine injury. So, Tim, thanks for joining us today.
And thank you so much for having me on. It's a great honor. I really appreciate it.
Well, I want to address the elephant in the room right away. There are many people who are skeptical of long COVID, or they think that, oh, it's really vaccine injury and it's not really long COVID. And I want to make it clear right up front, you never took the vaccine and you have had just, your story is as devastating as those suffering from vaccine injury. And not that we want to compare anything. It's all hard. It's all been, you guys have just been gaslit and basically told, you've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, been told there's nothing we can do for you. And so I'm just really wanted to get that out so people knew that right away before we even began our discussion. But having said that, let's just jump right in and tell us your journey. Let us set sail on your journey of what you've gone through, and really what your mission is to help anybody who has faced just the loss of hope and devastating issues that you've gone through.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it condensed because it can get kind of long, but my message is that because of what I went through, I'm going to make sure that we can help everyone that we possibly can. So I got COVID December 2020. Was an endurance athlete before that, running marathons, working out 7 days a week, 36 years old, running a business in the prime of my life, just having the time of my life. I didn't think much of COVID. I've seen people getting it and getting over it. I'm like, it's nothing. It killed my grandpa. We went to his funeral and I received COVID from one of the relatives that was with him before he died, because they didn't let you get to him at that time. But anyway, so I had COVID December 2020, and within 4 days, I could not get out of bed. And anytime I got out of bed, I'd collapse and start suffocating. And this went on for a couple of days until a doctor gave me a methylprednisone steroid, which allowed me to get up and start functioning for about 6 weeks. And then everything came back and I was stuck on the couch, couldn't breathe, couldn't eat anything, started going to doctors where I was being diagnosed as depressed. Yeah. And I laughed it off.
That's the continual theme. Oh, it's just anxiety. It's just depression. I just listening to you, I'm like, same old thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When they don't know what to diagnose, it's too easily depression and anxiety is a cause. So I'm seeing these doctors are telling me I'm depressed, and I went through 4 of them before a guy, endocrinologist, actually told me I had long COVID. And that's when I figured out what it was in the beginning of 2021, that there was such a thing called long COVID. This is 2 months into my suffering. And then, so I'm like, how can I fix this if all these doctors are telling me this is all in my head and no doctors are helping me? So I'm like, the Mayo Clinic can save me. They save every single person that comes there. In my mind, it's Disney World of the medical community. If I get there, I'm saved. And we booked a trip 2 months ahead of time to get up there. Of course, my insurance didn't cover it, so it cost us about $30,000 to go up there. Um, Spent a week full of being diagnosed with everything. And before all my testing came back, the main MD up there sat me in a room. And mind you, I have to wear a mask, so I'm blacking out. Now they're pushing me around in a wheelchair. And so it's really just starting to mess with me because all these people are telling me that I'm depressed and I'm here and now I'm collapsing because I have a mask on. And the main MD that's running all my tests, before they all came back, sits me down and draws on a piece of paper and says, "Son, I can fix all this for you right now." And I'm just ecstatic. I'm like, let's go. I knew I made it to the right spot. Help me get better. And he draws a picture of my brain and continues to tell me that it's all in my head. All of it. I gave this man $30,000. I blacked out multiple times in his hospital and being pushed in a wheelchair, and it's all in my head. If you could have pressed a discontinue button in your life at that point, I probably would have, because I was lost and I was absolutely devastated. When I left, they sent me a test showing my VO2 max was actually down to 30, and being an endurance athlete, that is a very, very low number. Should have been in the 50s easily. So I was not able to get rid of my carbon dioxide that I was trying to get rid of. So I was in fact suffocating, like I was telling everyone the whole time. So
Yeah, I remember, and I'm gonna put a link in the show notes to Tim's like long form, the
yeah,
podcast you did where you lay out everything, because there's a lot in here. But explain that. Like, it wasn't that you couldn't take in oxygen. It was that you couldn't get rid of.
this is a message. All I try to do is educate people now.
Right.
And everyone in Fish Out of Water tries to do the same thing. So when you go to the doctor and you think you have long COVID, vaccine injury is pretty apparent, right? I got a vaccine. My life's completely different, right? Long COVID can kind of just come out of nowhere because of spike protein building up in your system and causing a host of different issues. And all of a sudden, one of them hits you. But when you go to the doctor and you're like, "I'm not breathing right," or having cognitive issues, they'll put a pulse ox on your finger and it will probably read above 95. So the doctor will look you in the eyes and tell you that it has nothing to do with your oxygen. That's not true. Just because you're taking in oxygen doesn't mean you're getting rid of the bad stuff. And that's where I was. That was the
Mhm.
aha moment. Yes,
Mhm.
it's showing 95, 96, which is not great anyway. It should be 97, 98, but my ability to get rid of the bad stuff got cut in half. So I'm sucking in oxygen and only getting rid of half of the bad stuff that I should have. And
That's
that's
really
what was
that's
going on.
really interesting. I mean, because I had COVID. I was never vaccinated, but I did also get COVID experience. I not long COVID. I mean, I got COVID, and I really credit um actually this was early on. I got in August 2020, and had I not heard, about Pierre Corey and the steroids and stuff, nobody will know. That was when nobody treated you. It's just like, well, come back when you can't breathe. And I'm like, I can't breathe. Well, nothing's wrong. You're taking in oxygen. And, somebody finally gave me the steroids, which helped me, but I was much sooner. I got help a whole lot more sooner than you did. Anyway, sorry. Let's go back to you.
Oh, no, 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 no. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, it's, and I'm trying to educate doctors too, because the VO2 max is something that's not really talked about or tested.
Yeah, you were the first person that I heard that from, and I've been around a lot of vaccine injured people
Yep. And
or
and,
people who've had
and
COVID.
so people will wear these watches and say, "Hey, my VO2 max is completely normal, but I'm still long COVID." You actually, it's not an accurate way to test your VO2 max. I actually bought I bought two of the most expensive watches because this one said my VO2 max was fine. The next one said it was fine, and I'm like, I just spent all this money, and
Mhm.
I just gotten this test that said it was at 30. So you actually have to get on a treadmill. They hook a machine to your mouth, and they measure the amount of carbon dioxide that comes
Interesting.
out of your mouth. So
Interesting.
I just wanted to share that tidbit in case any doctors are listening. Yes, if
Yeah,
they're
no,
pulled
it's all about
low,
education.
it all of us, and that's what we're all trying to do, is to educate each other.
Okay, so here you are, sits you down, it's all in your head.
Yep. So after that, uh, again, we can go to we can link my podcast, but I
Yeah, I will.
jumped into hyperbaric oxygen chambers. It worked pretty
Well,
well.
actually, we should probably say that same doctor came back, after he told you it was all in your head, he actually did come back after the test came back and he said, "Oh, actually, you're suffocating."
Yes, correct. He came back and said you're suffocating. You need to be on a steroid for 6 months, and then call me. And then within 10 days, my symptoms progressively got even worse. Being on that steroid, I started collapsing in front of my children, which is a big no-no for me. I don't like my kids to see
Mhm.
this going on. And then so I called them. I got on a Zoom call with him, and it cost me quite a bit of money just to Zoom him on an emergency. And he said, "There's nothing else I'm going to do for you. Stay on this steroid. It will help you." And I'm sitting here crying with tears in my eyes. I got my compression socks on just to push the blood up to my lungs. It's the middle of the spring, kind of summer, so it's warm outside, and now I'm disabled again. So
Wow.
uh,
And
that's when,
again, we want to be careful. I mean, steroids help me, but my situation was completely different. So we want to
yeah.
be careful in what's saying what works and what doesn't work. But clearly, and that was it. It was just like, that's it. You're done. There's nothing I can do for you. And there you are. So there you are. So then what happens?
And so it was a breathable steroid. Initially, I took methylprednisone, which is an oral steroid.
That's what
So
I was on.
yes, each steroid could be different. So
Right.
so that brought me into hyperbaric oxygen chamber therapy. And then I learned about IVs, which ones work, which ones don't. I had a lot of benefit from high dose vitamin C. 20 grams or higher. I'm not telling people what to do, but it lowers the inflammation in your body. And Pierre Corey talks about it in his book as well too. Um, but the hyperbaric and the IVs kind of slowed it down, the suffering a little bit. But then again, it was warm outside and our
Mhm.
vascular systems work great. And this is what I want every long hauler to know. Along with vaccine, when it's warm out, your vascular system's probably going to open up better and it's going to function better. The colder it gets, the higher altitude. These are the things that I
Mhm.
found will condense that vascular system. So your already hyperinflammation will kind of get worse. So
Mm.
summer times, I'm okay. I'm not suffering. Winter times come, I can't walk 10 feet at this point. So um, bought a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, put it in my house, would sit in my house, and I did 100 straight sessions, and I progressively got worse in this hyperbaric chamber. And
Now, do you think, okay, because hyperbaric, I mean, there are some, you're the first person of long COVID I've ever interviewed. I've mostly interviewed just vaccine injury. Some people have found it incredibly helpful and others not so much. I think in your interview, you said you just did it too much, or can you kind of elaborate there?
yeah, I know I did it too much because I became oxygen dependent.
Okay.
In my theory, because I only can speculate with theories. I've done a lot of blood testing and a lot of trial and error, but my theory is that I had so much spike protein in my system that was causing my vascular
Mm.
issues. When you're compressing, um, your vascular system and pushing oxygen into it, if it's already inflamed,
Mm.
maybe it made it worse. But I really became dependent on oxygen, where I would start sleeping in it because then in the winter times I wouldn't sleep. So I would have to jump in my tank and I would only get, on a given night, I'd probably get an hour and a half to 2 hours of sleep in the wintertime. So it was just complete and utter chaos going into the cold seasons. So um, went through
Okay.
the cold season. Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'll
no,
just
no, no, no. I just, there's so much. And again, I'm going to refer people back to your original podcast that you did. So the hyperbaric, then that, and then, so then what happens at some point you go to Florida to get the exosome treatment and you can explain that and then how that didn't work, but then later it did. I don't know. So wherever you want to pick this story up from.
yeah. So that's what I love educating people about, because I went and I'm not going to name the name of the big company I went to in Florida just because I have a lot of respect for them. But we drove 18 hours from my state to Florida. And here I'm not sleeping. If I eat anything more than 5 ounces of meat and vegetables, my lungs shut down and I pass out. Um,
And so why do you think, carbs or caffeine? That just because they're constrictor? I mean, that was just what happened to you?
One, I think they cause inflammation in everyone. So
Okay.
anything that adds more inflammation, this is my thinking, everyone can disprove me.
Right, right.
I think they cause more inflammation by themselves. And then two, caffeine, what it does is it makes your blood push faster, right? And that's where you
Mhm.
get more blood going to your heart. Well, after it slows down, the inflammation's still there and the blood's not flowing as much. So you kind of
Mm,
feel crappy.
okay.
Uh, through my experience of it. So we get to Florida, we do the exosomes. They do nothing for me whatsoever. So
Okay,
we
and explain I had no idea what an exosome is. Could you explain for any
oh,
listener what an
I am
exosome
so
is?
sorry. I'm such a geek on
No,
this
that
stuff.
no, 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 no. I mean, no, that's makes perfect sense. But if you can just let us all know what it is in layman's term.
So exosomes, when a woman has a baby, they in the placenta there's exosomes and stem cells, and they scoop those exosomes out, which are what God uses to create people. The exosomes are life giving. They're creating the human inside you, and they're little bitty microscopic little things that go into your cell, and then they take away the inflammation and help reduce the cell's life. And
Okay. Okay.
it's
So they impact the inflammation in your body.
correct. And I
Okay.
cannot wait to get to that part after I get past the crappy
Okay.
part.
All right. All right. I'll try not to ask
Continue.
any more questions.
No, please do, because I've been known to just talk because this is so much, and I love sharing this stuff with
Right.
everyone. So, that didn't work. So we're driving back from Florida, and I'm with a doctor at this point who I've given $9,000 to, who swears um, to the high heavens she can save me. And we get back, and I'm collapsing, and I Zoom called her, and she goes, I can fix all this. This is all in your head. You must have some what she say?
Daddy.
You must have had some traumatic experiences as a child. Um, and I said, okay, well, the only traumatic experience I'm having is giving you $9,000 and getting
Wow.
progressively worse. So exosomes didn't work, and at this point, uh, I'm bouncing around to doctors. The next doctor I tried put me on, and again, this isn't medical information or suggestions, but they put me on pravastatin. And pravastatin is a vasodilator, but it also lowers your cholesterol. So I'm on this pravastatin for about 30 days, and I can start to breathe a little bit through my nose, which I couldn't before. And I'm getting more air. I'm like, man, this stuff, and I don't like medicine. So I'm like, this stuff might actually be working. Until I had a mini stroke in my kitchen when my wife was out of town, because my cholesterol dropped so low that my legs buckled. My wife's out of town. I got my 4 kids. I hit the counter, and I looked at my 18-year-old, and I told her to drive me to the hospital, but nothing came out except for
Mhm.
gibberish. I couldn't talk for about 4 or 5 hours. Even at the
Oh my
hospital, it was
gosh.
just like so. And I'm
Terrifying.
only explaining this to get to the good point so people can understand. They can go to the link, but I had to do swimming therapy after that, which I highly, highly recommend for any long COVID patient or vaccine injured. When you get in that water, the water takes the pressure off of your body,
Mm.
and your vascular system is dealing with a bunch of inflammation. So when you can pull the weight off of that, of pushing down on your vascular system and move around, like I literally would walk up and down the pool for 30 minutes. Like you see
Wow.
those senior classes in the pool.
Yeah.
I was part of the senior class, hanging out with them and moving in the pool after that. So
Wow.
that led me to finding out about water therapy, which I educate about. And
Wow.
every story that I'm going to tell you, until I get to tell you why we're doing what we're doing, is something I believe God brought me through so I can help other people understand that
Right.
you're not stuck. There are options,
Mm.
and there's people out there like you guys, like us, and doctors that are helping people. So
Yeah. Just trying to bring hope. Just trying to, why even wake up tomorrow?
yeah, I've literally deemed our organization hope dealers, because that's what we're literally trying to just give hope to people, because I'm not vaccine injured, and I have so much sympathy for everyone that is, but I'm just try to, and some of my symptoms can relate to some of their symptoms, so I try to say, hey, here's what I tried, here's what I didn't try. I don't know anything what you're going through, but I kind of know from this end, and just give them hope as well too. So
Yeah, and well, I'll also link the other podcast you did from someone who did have the vaccine,
mhm.
then developed these symptoms, and then received, I mean, quite dramatically improved. So, again, your organization is here to just really so much education along very similar to React 19, just where you might focus, you personally went through the long COVID, React 19 is, vaccine injury, but you both believe in the research of it all, because no matter what research is done, it's going to help everybody, the research and education. So anyway, back to your story.
So here we are in um, 2022. We'll get to that point. I'm still suffering. At this point in my life, I'm telling everyone, because I run a pretty good real estate company, um, and I'm telling everyone on my team, everyone I'm in business with, like, I'm gonna die any day. Like, I've lost hope. I've given up hope. At this point, I think I'm roughly at $115,000 that was stolen from me by doctors that didn't care
Uh,
to diagnose me with anything but depression. So I'm really at my wits' end. I'm not making money. I'm a father of four. I'm collapsing. I tried to hide it from my kids, which is where the name Fish Out of Water came from. I used to play with my children, and then when the suffocation would happen, I'd go in the other room and I'd collapse and fall on the ground like a fish out of water, and just
yeah.
try to catch my breath. And that's where
Okay.
I made my promise to God to help any person I could suffering from this. So God said, buckle up, Tim, hold on, we're going to prepare you for this. And so here we are, 2022, um, closer to the fall time. My daughter goes and gets an HPV vaccine, and she's 12 years old. 8 days later, she starts collapsing, just like me.
Mm,
Mirror imaged my symptoms. Mirrored. I mean, suffocating. If she eats anything, she's down. If she walks more than 10 steps, she's down. And my poor wife is going through and seeing all this, and
yeah.
she can't wrap her head around that it's the same thing that I'm going through, right? She's watching her husband just decay and die, right? And I'm telling people I'm dying, not my kids, but just anyone, and she knows I'm dying. I can barely do anything. And here's my daughter starting to collapse, and she's trying to test her, and I can't go to the appointments because I can barely move.
Yeah.
And so she's taking my daughter to appointments, and she comes home, and my daughter collapses and hits the floor, and she looks at me, and she goes, "Can you please fix this?" And that
Your
literally,
wife said that to you.
yes, because she knows I've read every single medical article out there on why this is happening to us all, and I could break that down. I'd love to sit with people. It's a 2-hour talk about why this is happening to long COVID people. But she says, help her. And I was like, game on. That gave me a reason to go back into the
Wow.
war, to go back into the fight.
Yeah.
And because my daughter was dying, I not only found out how to fix this, but we educate people on possible, I have to say possible therapies. But when we run
Right.
through people through what we've done, they seem to come back pretty well. So this leads us into 2023, and
Okay.
it's February, and I'm 2 years into my charity work with Fish Out of Water, and we're talking to different doctors because we're trying to bring on COVID literate medical professionals. We don't
Right.
we don't bring on anyone but COVID literate medical professionals. And this gentleman goes, I have a doctor you have to talk to. He cures long COVID. Said, heard that song and dance a lot, but
Mhm.
sure, I'll talk to him. So had a conversation with him. He said, hey, I'll be in Las Vegas. Why don't you come out to Las Vegas and listen to me speak? And I'm like, well, if he's speaking, he's got to be pretty important, right? So I flew to Las Vegas, and I got lucky enough to get pneumonia before I flew out there. So here I am suffocating from COVID, got got pneumonia. And I say lucky to all this because this is the way I had to start looking at it to
Right.
build my strength to keep going for my own daughter. I'm in Vegas and this guy tells us how to fix it. And I'm like, I've never heard of any of this. He tells me what a thymosin gland is. Never heard of a thymosin gland. I've read every medical journal out there. Never heard of a thymosin gland. So
Will you
we,
tell us what a thymosin gland is?
yes, it sits right in between your lungs, and it, in combination with your spleen, is your body's immune system.
Okay.
And if it's underregulated or overregulated, your T cells, your fighter cells,
Okay.
will go out and they will cause massive amounts of inflammation in your body. They won't act accordingly to fight off the viral load of COVID that you get.
Because I remember at some point you talked about mast cell activation, and I don't know if that has something to do with this too. Anyway, I'm sorry, continue.
It definitely it definitely does. But so I come back from Vegas and it was March 20th. I set up appointment with this guy after I got off the pneumonia. After I got over the pneumonia, and I had to drive 3 hours north of my house, and sitting for longer than 15 minutes, I can't really breathe.
Oh, yeah.
So it's hard to get there. And I'm like, okay, again, I have a reason to get there. I have to save my daughter's life. So I drive up north and I get there, and he gives me, I inhale a third of the exosomes.
Okay, so you're back now to the exosomes that failed you previously, but now you're doing them again.
Yep. So here's my plan, and this is what I explain to doctors and to anyone, because I can't give you medical information.
Right. And that's really clear here. We're not giving medical information
So
or medical advice. We're giving you
medical
information,
advice,
but
yes.
we're not giving you a treatment and medical advice.
Don't do what I say. I have doctors that can tell you,
Yeah.
but I detoxed the spike protein before I went up. So I'm trying this a completely different way. I've tried everything twice. Here's what I'm trying now. I'm detoxing my spike protein. So I'm using augmented NAC, and I'm using nattokinase to lower my spike protein down as low as it can go, right? Then I go up and I talk to this doctor, and he hits me with a round of exosomes in combination with stem cells. And 2 hours after I got this treatment, my lungs that didn't work for 828 days came back so strong. When they tested my VO2 max 2 weeks later, they said, come back because you're an endurance athlete. We can't, on our machine, we cannot register your lungs.
Wow. That's just incredible. Now, again, we want to be careful in saying, what works for you. These are the things you've learned. We don't want to give false hope, but we want to give hope. And that's just incredible. So then what happens next?
Well, so again, I'm throwing everything
right
at the same time. So I started peptides to fix that thymosin gland that I just learned about.
Okay, so what's the mechanism there? What are peptides, and what's the explain how that helps?
Peptides are amino acids, naturally occurring amino acids. And they're little bitty things that do the same thing as exosomes. They go into your cells and they have your cells do what their intended use is.
Okay.
Like BPC is body protection compound that will help heal the gut, help blood flow, help the vascular system. There's 7,000 different peptides. The FDA has just banned most of them November 1st. So something that has actually no, I mean, I don't want to say no because there are some side effects. Some peptides can cause mast cell, and some of them can, you need to talk to a doctor before you start peptides. The little side effects they have, the FDA has just shut them down. And that's a whole rabbit hole I could go into, but I'm not going to dive into that one.
Well, we need to work on right to try legislation. We need to keep that going. So anyway, continuing on.
Yep. So I started a thymosin alpha 1 and a thymosin beta 4 peptide to help my thymosin gland. And this is a trial and error thing to see if this works. And 10 days after I started it, I'm pumping gas at the gas station, and I poked my head in the car with my wife and I said, I no longer have long COVID. It just left. I literally felt, because when you're sick, you have this darkness holding on to you.
Mm.
It's almost like you're not awake, like you're just in a bad dream and you're just waiting to wake up from it. Everything hurts, everything is dark, you're scared, you're terrified. And at that gas pump, those peptides literally kicked in and took it all away.
Oh,
And it
wow.
it just it was gone. It was absolutely gone. And we've used that protocol on people, and they've had the same experiences. So
Wow. So then bring us up to date now.
I got to get to my favorite part. So
Oh, okay. Sorry.
2 weeks after I did it, because I have to try everything on myself.
Right.
You can't try anything on my 12-year-old daughter. My wife will not allow it, and I don't blame her.
Right.
So 2 weeks later, we give her the exosomes, and we're just staring at her, waiting for it to work, and nothing's happening at all. And I
Mm,
go to sleep because I'm on a very strict bedtime from being sick.
right.
Um, and I say strict, it's 9:30 at night. My family just likes staying up late.
Yeah.
So anyway, 10 o'clock, I hear my wife come in and get me and say, "Oh my God, I think Haley's dying." And so I wake up and I already have PTSD from being sick. So I fly into the bathroom and my daughter's throwing up and it's red. And I look at the color of red and I go, "This isn't blood. Did you drink some red Kool-Aid?" She goes, "Yep, right before I went to bed." I'm like, oh, "Okay." So I said, "Good night, guys. I'm going to sleep. She's got a stomach bug. We'll see you in the morning. She's okay." Woke up the next day and her long COVID was gone. I got my daughter back. She started
Now,
swimming again.
was she doing the peptides and all that too? And, no, or
We
was
did
it
not
just the
do it,
exosomes?
just the exosomes. We're good test subjects because I went after um, all of it, and but she did not want to stick a needle in her stomach every day. And it's a little insulin needle that you have to poke yourself.
Okay.
And I don't want to. And I said, well, let's just try this and see if this helps. And if it doesn't, we'll add peptides in later. So
Okay. Wow. So then she's back on the swim team, you said?
back swimming, back doing anything and everything she wanted to. Um, and that all went really well for 9 months for both of us, as a matter of fact. Christmas 2023, so just a couple months ago,
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of a 75 hard challenge, which it's just a crazy
Right.
workout to me,
Right. The
75
David
days.
Goggins.
And I'm no, it's Andy Frisella.
Oh, is
That
he? Okay. Sorry.
and I get COVID again right around Christmas. So does my daughter. So does everyone in the house. Mine turned into pneumonia again. Shocker. Was good until January, somewhere between January 15th and 16th. I was good,
Mhm.
and then my long COVID came back. And now I'm dealing with mast cell activation again, where I can't work out at all. It really started grabbing a hold of my daughter and I, and to because I've had so much experience in this, in educating and helping people, I said, well, let's just try the peptide route first.
Okay.
I'm always on the detox. I'll never get off NAC and nattokinase because anyone I come around that is vaccinated that is not detoxing can spread their spike protein onto me. So I'll continue to stay on that to keep my spike protein low. But this time I said, let me try exosomes to see if I can teach people that just exosomes work.
Mhm.
And because I'm sorry, let me try peptides to see if peptides can knock this out without the exosomes. And I found out that you cannot. I personally cannot. It helped my breathing come back, so my breathing was good, but it started creating mast cell activation in my system, um, and so I started getting really bad flare-ups. So this week, my daughter and I are going to go get another round of exosomes. And once that knocks down all the systematic inflammation, we have a meeting with a very exciting doctor that tests this. That's actually, she's joining part of what we're doing. She tests your blood, your gut, and your genetics, and she looks at what's causing the hyperinflammation in your system
Okay.
so we can not have to do this up and down stuff anymore.
Wow. So, but for 9 months, you were fine.
I mean, not only was I fine, I went from when I first got better running 12-minute miles down to 6-minute miles. Like I was improving. I was in the best shape of my life. I was actually training for an Ironman. But then that was my 75 hard was my kickoff for my training. So I was doing anything and everything that I wanted. It was, and I could eat anything I wanted too, which was phenomenal. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask the question.
Mhm.
Um, for all those people who had said, well, see, you should have taken the COVID vaccine and then you wouldn't be back here because you got COVID again. Now we know that COVID, the vaccine doesn't prevent transmission and it doesn't prevent you from getting it. But what would you say to those people who are like, why didn't you just take the COVID vaccine?
I love this question and I love answering it. And everything that I answer now, people are scared. Okay.
Yeah,
We're all scared. We've all been through this, and it was obviously from the top down. Like
right,
the people above were trying to push us to do something
right.
that we were on.
And then
So
keeping us from
found
treatments that might have helped, which I want to talk about later. But anyway, back to this question.
I found answering every question with love because everyone's scared. We're all
Right,
scared. I mean, no offense, this might sound braggadocious. I'm not scared. I looked at death.
right,
I was there for a long time, and I had to save my daughter's life. So I'm out just spreading love and hope to people. So I do get this question that people are kind of like angry about me trying. You should get it. You're doing
right,
yourself a disservice. Well,
right,
we now know that when you get COVID, you get a set of spike protein. Okay, that comes with COVID, and that causes vascular problems.
right.
When you get vaccinated, you get, and I believe my education is right on this. For every vaccine you get 3 times more spike protein.
Right, that's what I've heard. Yeah. And
Real good.
there's no turn off mechanism in the vaccine. There's nothing that tells your body, oh, turn this off.
Yes. So if for me, very easily explained, I am dealing with spike toxicity. Okay. It causes me a host of issues, including autoimmune diseases because of spike protein. So I lovingly like to have these conversations. Why would I put three
Right,
times more of that stuff in my body if I already can't deal with what COVID gives me?
right,
And that's what I explained to doctors, the 36 different ones that tried to vaccinate me when I'm depressed. If you give me that shot right there, and this is what I've asked them all, if you give me that shot right there and it causes me more harm, how are you going to help me? Because you haven't helped me yet.
right,
You've done zero to help me except for take my money, which doesn't help me. And
right,
now you're asking to put more of that toxic stuff in my body. And so the case studies are there, and
right,
we deal with so many people like your guys, not as many as you guys. We're just breaking into the vaccine
right.
injured, but I
Well,
see what it.
there's 3,400 there's 3,400 medical reports on the React 19 website. So anyway, that's just a start, but continuing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just simple. I never answer anything out of anger because we all have to approach this with love
Mm-hmm.
and help educate the people that are terrified of what's going on because
Yes.
everyone's scared. People that are going to say bad things to you and I are scared because they don't have the science that they were promised.
Right.
Trust the science, trust the science. We have the science, but we're not going to them and saying, we're all people. We're not going to the people saying, ha, here's the science. You need to look at it. You did
Right.
wrong on yourself. We're saying, hey, we were all affected by this. We're
Right.
only going to figure this out if we all come together and stop being divided. And so I love yielding questions like that. So
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And not only trusting the science, but trusting all the medical professionals who, I mean, I think so much of this could have been alleviated if people were able to have tried hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, all these other treatments. Oh, okay, I'm going to have this on hand. And so at the very first sign of it, you treat immediately so you don't get down all of this. And the reality is that very, very good doctors have been maligned for their work in this, and very many people were not able to get help, which caused unnecessary harm for all of us. So the fact that, they've continued to try to educate people against a system that keeps hammering down, you're trying to educate people. React 19 is trying to educate people. And I think that's just it. People have to understand, the different forces that are working here, and that it really is incumbent upon all of us to be open to listening
Yeah.
to everything that's out there.
Yeah. And that, and so one of the things that I try to tell people that we're personally doing, but we're doing it with you guys in the FLCCC and any other
Right.
COVID
Right.
professionals. We're trying to create a phalanx, right? And a phalanx is a military Spartan formation where everyone locks shields and then they go into
Wow.
battle together. And
Okay.
so by us all connecting, which is what we're doing now and what we're doing with medical professionals, we're connecting to help, right?
Right.
We're not
Right.
going into war fighting individually where they can separate us and break us down and pick us
Right.
apart. By us all locking shields, we're going into this. Yes, this is a battle because we're being shadow banned and blocked, and I'm sure you
Yeah.
guys are as well too.
And just
But if we just
really
keep,
discounted. People's,
yeah,
reputations are being ruined and everything. But so get beyond that, people. Get beyond that. Just know that exists, but keep going.
yeah, and I'm a real estate agent. Why would people ask my advice? You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I'm locking shields with the top medical professionals in the United States, saying, "Hey, I I got your back. I want to be part of this movement to help. All I want to do is protect people. I do not want a phone call." And I said this on stage in Texas last year. I don't want any phone calls of hearing people taking their own lives anymore
Mhm.
because they're going to doctors and they're being misdiagnosed and they don't have any hope. So that's why I said we deemed ourselves the hope dealers. I field hundreds of calls a week. I give my number to people so they can call me and I can say, "Hey, here's what's going on with your body. Here's a brief education. I have doctors that can tell you this, but here's what you need to know. You need to slow down on eating anything that inflames your body, right?
Mm,
You drink more water. You just little tidbits, not
right.
not medical information, but things that I found that help me.
Incremental. I mean, and then they compound and they build to
Yes.
to
And
to
then
positivity.
when you hear
Positive.
someone looking you, not looking you, or just talk because sometimes I do Zoom, but when you hear someone telling you, this is real, man, you're okay. We have doctors that can fix this. This is really going on. You're not crazy. I know your friends and family probably don't believe you because you look normal. Trust me, I went through this, but it is real, okay? And it's happening at a cellular level. But once they feel seen and heard, it gives them hope to keep going and not give up. And that's I applaud you guys what you guys are doing.
That's
Well,
that's the key. I mean, I cannot tell you just how many vaccine injured people I've dealt with over the last 4 years. And sometimes in my conversations or I get texts and it's so overwhelming everything that they're going through. I'm thinking to myself, how in the world are they getting up? I mean, I'm perfectly healthy. And I'm
yeah,
thinking to myself, how in the world are they even getting up to the next day, which encourages me. It's like, I got to do something because these people need help. You know what I'm saying? Because, yeah, there has to be hope. There has to be hope.
yeah.
So, how do people connect with you? Tell us specifically what your organization does and how people become part of it.
Okay, so after all that rambling, you guys know that it's called fish out of water. So what we do because of what I've experienced through the 36 different doctors, $120,000 I spent, what we do is we put medical professionals, COVID literate medical professionals on our website. So you can go and pick out a doctor and say, "Hey, I want to work with that doctor." That's all this doctor does for a living is work on these types of long COVID and vaccine injured things. So that's something we're super proud of because I personally want to protect people from getting mistreated. So
Right.
we have created that on our site. Second, if you need help financially, you go on there and you apply as a candidate, and we ask you to do a 2 to 3 minute video explaining the symptoms that you're experiencing. Not
Mhm.
because we want to showcase you and say, "Oh, this is what's going on." We're
Right.
doing it for a couple reasons. One, we want to show people that this is real. I mean, we
Right.
have we have kids going through this, and people say, "Wow!" Like, if you don't believe it, go look at the website. There's people suffering on there. So
Right.
you get to explain your symptoms, and then people can donate. We go to places and try to get donations to get you treated, and we don't give it to the candidates, the people that are suffering. We earmark their account for whatever the doctor says it will be, and then we pay that doctor directly to get their lives back. So,
Okay.
so they don't have to worry about any medical costs. We're getting them back up on their feet. Um,
Wow.
and that's what the video. So they'll do a video in the beginning, and that's the really cool part. That's why I like the video. They'll do the video in the beginning. Once they get treated and they get to some sort of recovery, because some recovery takes years, right?
Yeah.
Because people are going through this for years. But once they get to a place where they feel comfortable and they're feeling confident in themselves, we have them do another video. So whoever donated to them will get to see the before and after,
Oh, nice.
and
Nice.
realize that their money that they donated didn't go to the CEO, because I'm the CEO of my company. When
Right.
you give money to charities, you have no idea where the money's going.
Right. Right.
You who donate to this actually get to pick where the money goes. And we send it directly to that person getting better. So we tried to,
Wow.
and it took a bunch of us to come together with this idea at a fish out of water, but we really just tried to protect the patient financially and get
Right.
them connected with the doctors, who, so they don't have to go through 36 different doctors that look them and
Right.
tell them they're depressed. Had my daughter not gotten sick, I wouldn't be able to be here to explain this to you. And I don't want people to have to go through all of that to
Right.
keep going to
Right.
find you.
That's
So
so true.
so that's in a nutshell how it works. We also put in information every week. We just recently added a spike protein test on our site.
Okay.
So if you're like, hey, I want to know what my spike protein is, from my understanding at these conferences that I go to and the doctors I talk to, anything above 400, you should probably be on something to
Something.
mitigate the spike protein. I'm
What do
not going to.
you I mean, I have seen, again, for being part of this for all these years, like you have, and, you people, and again, I'm speaking, with vaccine injury, and you're maybe, you know, with obviously with React 19, you're really focused on COVID, although again, vaccine injury as well. Those people who there are doctors who are saying there's no way you can detox from spike protein. Is that true or is that not true? Is it that you can reduce it but never get rid of it? What can you tell us here? Or
So
what do you know?
I'll explain my experience because I'm not a doctor,
Right.
and so I can't be
Right.
dislabeled. Two stories. Met a doctor in Arizona, tested his spike protein before he went to Disney World with his children, right?
Okay.
His spike protein was 400.
Okay.
When he got back from Disney World, he tested his spike protein again. It was 12,000. Because of, and this is how impactful shedding is. And just because you got,
Was this somebody who had previously had COVID or just decided, hey, I mean, why did he get his spike protein tested before he even left?
he works with doctors, that he works with Pierre Corey and doctors like that
Okay.
that
Okay.
see them
Okay.
on a daily basis. So I don't want
Okay.
to name
Right.
this.
Okay. Just wanted to know if there was something there. Okay.
Yeah. So and that was to show you how shedding is a real thing. Okay.
No.
So the reason that I know that detoxing works is a friend of mine going through long COVID said, hey, I don't know what to do. And I said, here's what I do to detox. I said, first go test your spike protein, get on this stuff, and then test it again to see if it worked. And
Right.
so his spike protein, unvaccinated gentleman, his spike protein was 6,000. He
Wow.
detoxed for 1 month and it went down to 2,000. So in
Wow.
1 month, he dropped 4,000. So
Wow.
I know through just that one story, and there's multiple stories we have, that yes, you can detox. And just even without the test, I mean, I have friends and families that family members that openly tell what to do, because I
Right.
can't get in trouble for telling my friends and family, hey, this is what I did.
Yeah.
Um, and they'll get on NAC and they'll call me within 3 to 4 days and be like, my brain fog's gone right now. I'm like,
Wow.
because you're lowering that spike protein out of your brain, and everyone has to. I mean, that's in my household. We'll say that everyone in my household has to be on something to detox that spike protein.
Wow. So interesting. And I think, again, education is key. So if somebody's listening, do they just contact? I'm assuming, we'll put a link in the show notes to your website. There's some place on the website that they just connect with you. Is that how it works? And then you reach out?
Yes. So I did have my phone number on. And I filled
That's
hundreds.
so,
I can't do that because I have such empathy for everyone that's going. I am them, and
yeah,
I know what they're going through. So I was fielding calls at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning
yeah,
and talking to people out of suicide,
yeah,
and it was really starting to mess with my mind because I have to sleep.
right.
So
Everybody does.
yes, I have my email on there, and if someone reaches out to me, once I hear their story, I'm more than happy to share my phone number. But I let them know that I have boundaries. You cannot contact me after this time because I have to protect
Well,
myself.
because of your health. Yeah. No, I
Yes,
just,
absolutely. But yeah, you can find my email on there.
but that's how people connect. If they're like, I need help, they just go to the website. There's a place for them to put in their information and then you guys reach out to them. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I field everything that comes across.
Okay.
Everything that comes through, I look at everything. And most people that apply as a candidate that are suffering, there's a spot for your phone number, so I call you. I like to reach out to everyone because I hear your story on here, and then I call
Right.
you and give you a little hope, tell you what we do, and yeah. So they apply as a candidate, and it comes directly to me. I see every case that comes across the desk until we get the funds where we can help out millions of people.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy that they have, Bree Dressen had said that, the current administration has just earmarked $10 billion for vaccine uptake, to get people to take more vaccines. And you think about what $10 billion could do to help all of those who have had consequences to COVID, long COVID vaccine injury. And it could just bring so much life. It could bring so much hope, and we could go into this whole new, realm of understanding all these different things about the body and providing real hope instead of just, hey, inject yourself with some more spike protein. And again, we don't want to tell people what to do, what not to do, except to be educated.
Yeah,
Tim, do you have any further information that you'd like to share at all? And then really, I just any concluding comments about just having people say, hey, it's like you got that hug from your daughter because you were ready to die. You were gonna do your suicide, much like Bree Dressen, who had planned her suicide. And then you got that hug from your daughter, and it's like, okay, I can do this, and I can do this another day. That's what you said. So any other information you have and anything that can just tell people, yes, you can do this.
thanks for trying to make me cry. You got real close there. Appreciate that.
That
That
wasn't
one,
my point, but
yeah, that one got, yeah. I relived that one. I just want this message that we're doing and what you guys are doing, what we're doing at Fish on the Water, just to let people know that this is really happening. You said $10 billion just got, you know,
billion.
billion for more vaccines. If that wouldn't even that would be a start to bring awareness to what's going on right now. There's
Mm.
so many people that are affected by long COVID and vaccine injury. I mean, the numbers are staggering, and you won't even get the accurate number. So there's so many people are affected, and most people don't say, "Hey, I don't feel right. Something feels different." They don't want to talk about their feelings or emotions. So the number of 33% of the population is affected by this could be 60 to 70%.
Right.
So I want everyone to know that they're not alone in this. There is a lot of people going through this. If you're broke, you don't go tell someone you're broke, right? If you're sick, people are the same way. They're just like, I don't really want to talk about it. There's a lot of people going through it, and we just need to keep spreading hope and awareness that there are answers. There are doctors.
Mhm.
There's groups like your group and our group that's really trying to save these people and give them hope back to them. So that's all. I just want to share that we're going to keep spreading awareness and hope to people
Yeah.
as long as we
We'll,
can.
we'll
I'm never going to stop.
we'll keep dealing that hope out. So I'd love to do a recap, another podcast in another 6 months or so, see what has happened, what's, moving forward, keep up on your story.
I got
Again,
something really exciting for you. Um, maybe we do it. Maybe we do it sooner. I'll
Okay,
let
well, whenever you think.
yeah.
So tune
I'll
in,
let you know.
listeners, stay tuned.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, everybody check out the show notes. Check out Tim's other podcasts that he's done.
And I actually have one more tidbit because I don't know how
Okay.
to stop. I wanna personally thank every single person that gets this, that is taking care of a long hauler or a vaccine injured person, because again, it's not seen as something that is real and what's going on.
Mm,
You're just as strong, if not stronger, than the person that's going through that, for standing by their side. So please keep supporting them. Please keep loving them, and please keep nurturing them, and let them know that they're not alone until they get back up on their feet. And that's the message I want to leave to those people, because there's so many of us going through it, so many of
mm.
us that get deserted. And God bless you for sticking up for a person that's going through it. So
All
that's
right.
thanks, Ann.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Go out, folks. Go deal that hope to the person around you, and we'll be in touch again soon. Thanks again, Tim.
Thanks, Ann.